and it makes me think of the water door and that, what we were talking about,
Right.
and how we're born into this world through the water-filled womb, completely weightless. Oxygen and food are given to us without, the least bit of effort. And many cultures, including the ancient Egyptians, used water as a means to amplify their psychedelic experiences and shorten the bridge to the gods.
Mm-hmm.
They would lie in the pyramids in the king's chamber in a bath of water to sort of, and then they would take substances like DMT or monatomic gold to try to awaken their pineal gland. And I just heard David Wilcock speak recently. Did you see his latest 2012?
I did. We had it up on the site, so I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
And I thought the most interesting thing that he said was that our pineal glands are actually, they're stargates. They're our third eye, and they contain water.
Right.
And that during sleep, our brains or our pineal glands flip over from space-time to time-space via the water in our pineal glands. Mm-hmm. And all the crap that we eat, the soda and the horrible stuff that we have in our diet and all these, horrible waves of energy that are being beamed at us, microwaves that we're talking about, all of these things help to calcify the pineal gland. And as we age, it becomes more and more calcified to the point where we almost lose touch with that sort of dream world or that time-space world. Yeah. And I like to think of, I have pretty intense dreams. I don't know about you, Heinrich, but some of my dreams are beyond anything that I've ever imagined, that I could possibly imagine. They're H.P. Lovecraft landscapes that would defy any kind of human language, and that's what I would call time space. That's a different dimension. It's nonlinear. It's multidimensional. Right. And then you wake up, and you rub the crust out of your eye, and everything is three-dimensional again, and you have to sort of make sense of it. But that's where it's all coming from. We have a Stargate inside of our brains, and some people, I know a lot of people who say they don't dream or they don't remember their dreams.
I've heard that too, and that's horrible to me, So.
That's beyond horrible. That's almost, I don't want to say I'd be suicidal if I couldn't dream, but isn't that the best thing in life, is that we're able to escape to this sort of Neverland, just like amazing paradise that we get to go to every night. Right. And some people are so habituated to their 9-to-5 jobs and the horrible sort of microbiological warfare that's going on right now in our heads and pop culture and everything else that's basically dumbing us down to the point of lemming-like sheep, and they disregard their dreams and they just become robots and Borg-like. And I think that's what 2012 needs to be, the awakening point. It needs to say to people that we are more than that, and that our dreams are meaningful, and that we're very powerful beings if we only knew how to hone it. In smaller animals, the pineal gland or the third eye actually has a retina. We have rods and cones. They have rods and cones just like your regular eyes do. Yep. So what is that? You have an internal eye that has rods and cones just like your corneas do, just like your eyes that you use to see do. So people need to start paying more attention to that and what that means.
Exactly, the internal eye. And I think in many cases, in regards to dreams that you talked about, this is a little bit, as I said, a reflection that people are also in many cases kind of afraid of the unconscious, of things that the conscious mind can't control. So either the fact that they perhaps do dream, but the fact when the conscious mind kind of activates, so to speak, they forget what the unconscious mind has done. It's almost like a trauma, you stuck it away somewhere and you actually can't remember anything of it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's classic Jungian theory.
Right.
The Jungian theory of synchronicity is a clear demonstration that everything in this universe is predetermined, fate, if you will. Now, chaos theory also has many good points and fallacies, but these cycles of absolution and nothingness intermingle with another. In fact, they sort of survive because the other survives. It's a matter of polarity, positive and negative ions balancing out sort of this ancient cosmic equation. And you can dwell in the void in the absence of light, completely removed and detached from God, and claim yourself to be sovereignty in the flesh, claim yourself to be God, plant your little egotistical flag in the ground, if you will. Or you can leave the void because, interestingly enough, Heinrich, somethingness, and yes, I realize that's not an actual word, it's filled with more wonderment and gnosis than could be described in a million lifetimes. If you try to take it any further from there as far as deductive logic, it comes directly from the human ego. and thus cannot be trusted. We cannot see the reality in its totality, and I think even more importantly, we lack the perspective to view the interface that we're in right now, the hologram or this computer program or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. We're all just ants, cosmic ants. We're little polygons in this strange constructed computer program that we have no idea, whence it came or why it's here.
Right.
And we're just all trying to figure it out. It's a gigantic puzzle we might never figure out.
Yeah, it's very interesting. As the search continues, I want to return a little bit and just talk about the particle accelerators that you're talking about, and the fact that we are, constructing one on Earth, approximately at the same time that this is happening that you just described for us. And what do you think that idea could be about? I've read articles about the people that are behind the construction of the particle accelerator, and many of them actually seem to be very concerned in regards to time. Statements like, we have to have this thing up and running before 2008. If we stand here on New Year's Day 2007, or New Year's Eve 2007, that's the way, it's got to be. We got to have it in place. What I'm getting at is, could it be that they're trying to, in some way, sync up the particle accelerator that we have here on Earth with what is going on in space, or are they trying to block something out? Any takes on that?
That's a very, very interesting point. It deals with many people's research. I think, Burrish comes to mind. Basically, I think it has to do with the looking glass technology. You remember that movie Paycheck, where Ben Affleck sort of sees around the curvature of space-time? And he sees that the reason the world is destroyed is because they become paranoid that they're able to see into the future. Right. And I think that we've had sort of this looking glass technology for quite some time. And like I said, I was just watching David Wilcock's new 2012 conference video. And when the looking glass technology was used by our government to see beyond 2012, they saw nothing but a bright, ambiguous light. And it was basically it split into two alternate timelines, and they kept They basically went from one image to another so fast that you'd have to slow it down with a supercomputer to see which timeline was which.
Right.
Which sort of meant to me that everybody's free will sort of predicts what the future is going to be. I take it to mean that the future is unwritten and constantly changing based on our collective conscious thought. But it only occurred at 2012. That's when their machines sort of shut off and just was a blurb of light, and they couldn't determine what it is. Interestingly enough, the machine that was called the Looking Glass Project, if you want to look at Dan Burrish or David Wilcock's work, they have pictures of it up at their sites, and it looks exactly like the revolving Stargate machine that they built in Contact.
Right.
That's the sort of revolving circles and the strange geometry. It looked exactly like this, and that's what the Looking Glass machine supposedly actually does exist looked like. And all of these sacred themes within Pandora's box will become as clear to us as our reflection in water. The harmonious effects of all physical matter will bind themselves to human beings who will be attaining mastery in empathy and unconditional love. We're going to develop things like telepathy, healing, spiritual abilities, once thought impossible or godlike. We would virtually end up, like I said, in the crosshairs of two gigantic elemental particle guns. And we're making one on Earth at the same time, as you stated. So it's very interesting. And Burrish and others have said that there have been natural and artificial stargates all over the Earth that have been sort of deprogrammed in preparation for this alignment that we're facing with Ophiuchus in 2012, because it's thought that these galactic particle accelerators are going to be so powerful that they might, have some kind of tremendous catastrophe event on Earth if they were to be all turned on at the same time.
Right.
But I think CERN is a little different entity. I think with CERN we're trying to peer into the past, not the future. We're looking the other way in the curvature of time. We're trying to figure out, the Big Bang and exactly how the original particle came into being. And I'm one to think that there were two creations. There was one for inanimate objects and one for conscious objects. And I really do believe that the first conscious being, if you want to call it God or whatever you want to call it, didn't know where, whence, why, or what it was doing there, or how it was created. It had no idea, because this universe in its holographic form was designed by other beings that it never met before. So what did it do? Just like a cell dividing, it made another cell, and it kept dividing, and this consciousness grew and grew and grew, and they become tendrils to experience for it, to try to discover why it was there.
Right.
So
right.
now there's billions and billions and billions and billions. I don't want to sound like Carl Sagan too much, of intelligent billions of people. There's billions of intelligent civilizations out there that are all trying to find out this secret, this Godhead, this source. Why are we here? What is this hologram made of? Can we escape it? Is there something outside of it? Is there something within it? Is there a beginning? Is there an end? Does the Ouroboros snake actually eat its own tail, and is it self-sustaining? And these are all concepts that we're going to be miraculously shown in the next 50 years. And that's going to change the world. It's going to change the world, absolutely.
I'm thinking of the evolution, the sudden kind of burst in evolution, if you will, that you mentioned. One question that do arise is kind of, obviously, okay, why is this happening at this time? But another thing that I can't escape is, do we deserve it? I mean, I'm not saying that the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, do things for its or their own reason, so to speak, that we might not be in a position where we can understand all of this. But what I'm getting at is that, is all of this just going to happen, do you think? And people are still kind of just going to go along in the ride and be unconscious of it? Or what I'm getting at is, do we deserve that kind of, development that into almost like godhood? I mean, it feels like many people need to, not that they need to deserve it in that way, but it's difficult. Do you know what I'm getting at all? Do you follow me?
Yes, I follow you exactly. But you're looking at it from a very primitive perspective. Look at it. Take a step back from yourself, Heinrich. Well, look at the whole universe as a computer program, and think of what we're going through as sort of an upgrade, or a revolutionized product, something that's being catered to go from the state of evolution from one direction to another. Yes, there are some people that we talked about where their pineal glands are so calcified that they wouldn't even know or understand, or I guess be deserving of moving on to this next stage of human evolution. But that doesn't make them any less deserving in the future. We all get there. And time is irrelevant. It's a concept created by man. So if a person like George Bush or someone else that's so ignorant to these themes is not ready for this cosmic shift during 2012, I believe that they do get there. It just takes a little bit longer. And the science behind it is very, very blurry. I couldn't give you a direct answer on that. Some people think that there's going to be another Earth that's sort of 3 feet above this one, that's just on a higher vibrational level.
Right.
And that all the people that aren't ready to be upgraded are simply going to recreate the Earth as they saw fit, and it's going to be sort of like the Christian rapture. I mean, many cultures speak about the rapture. It's not just the Christians. So
right.
I believe that that's what they're talking about. It's true evolution. Yes, we went from stages from apes to lower mammals to apes to eventually hominoids and eventually the intelligent human man that we are now. But I never considered that true evolution. True evolution is what we're going through in the next 25 years, and we're going to see it in our lifetime. And that's when our DNA or whoever made, I'm one to believe that we were tampered with, because there's a lot of evidence that seems to suggest there's dormant strands of DNA that were put there on purpose, and just like a cosmic key, something will unlock it. And those that are ready to receive the key will get the key, and they will move on to true evolution. And that's just opening up basically some of your abilities in your dream world. When your pineal gland switches over to time space at night in your REM cycle.
Right.
We're gonna start to basically take some of those abilities, and those abilities are going to transfer into this waking 3-dimensional world. So things like telepathy and instant healing will all become possible. Things of that nature. And people go ahead. I was just going to say, and people that aren't ready for that or aren't ready to accept those keys, I'm not certain what happens to those people. I couldn't give you an answer, and even my intuition is unclear as to what would happen to those people.
Yeah, but exactly, and that was what I was kind of thinking about, because in a way you have to kind of put something in, so to speak, to get something out, and especially if this has to do with awareness, you have to have the